Republican caucuses in both houses of the state legislature to talk about the plight of small business here in California. Now we all know that small business is the backbone of our economy. Small businesses drive the revenue. They drive the sales throughout this state. They provide all kinds of products and services in all of the cities and towns throughout this state. But they are in trouble right now. And they've been in trouble through the pandemic and in the aftermath, the inflation that we've seen. We've seen hundreds of thousands of businesses close, shut their doors because of what's going on. Struggling under the scourge of a retail theft epidemic that continues. A 29% increase in shoplifting that these small businesses are struggling under because of terrible policies like Prop 47 that needs to be reformed. Not little window dressing things that we might see in the legislature this year that aren't real reforms, that aren't really getting at providing accountability for theft. We need real reform. And so we're here to talk about how we can help those small businesses. They're also struggling under a countless barrage of fees and taxes that keep being foisted upon them, of this state not meeting its obligation under unemployment insurance and paying that debt, and instead making small businesses pay that, fit that bill. It's not right. And so we're here to talk about how we want to help small businesses. We want to reduce their costs. We want to get something real done on retail theft this year and provide the reforms that are necessary to support these small businesses throughout this state. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to my good colleague, the leader, Senate Republican leader, Brian Jones.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for coming out this morning and paying attention to this very important issue and bills that we're going to be presenting this morning. As Assemblymember Gallagher said, small business in California is under a feeling of oppression. When you talk to small business owners in California, it's amazing to me how many of them have already considered leaving the state, how many of them have already made plans to leave the state, and how many of them have already looked up on Zillow what they can buy if they sell their house here in California if they move out of state. And we have got to stop that tsunami of people leaving California. My family moved to California in 1978. My dad was a home builder in Colorado. He sold his business, he sold his house, he sold his truck, and we packed up everything we had and moved to San Diego because in 1978, California was the state everybody wanted to live in. California was where everything was happening. In 1978, freeways were being built. Colleges were being built. Schools were being built. Education in California was #1 in the country. And everything that was good about California then is still good about California now, except for the policies coming out of this building. So I want to thank all of the authors, the assembly members and senators that are here this morning that are taking this serious in California. And we're going to work with our colleagues across the aisle, and we're going to get these ideas passed, and we're going to work with the governor and get him to sign them, and we're going to start fixing California, and that fix starts today. And I just want to thank you all for coming, and again, thank you for all the authors and the bills that will be presented this morning to help make California the best state in the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jones. And next up, I'd like to invite up the President and CEO of the National Federation of Independent Business, Jon Kapotek.
Thanks very much, Leader Gallagher, and good morning, everybody. My name is Jon Kapotek. Thank you, Leader Gallagher. Thank you, Leader Jones, and everybody for inviting me here today. I am the California State Director of the National Federation of Independent Business, a California-born organization, but is national in scope. We represent about 14,000 small and independent businesses here in California, about 300,000 nationwide. Proud and heartened to support this host of pro-small business legislation that's set forth by these great members behind me today, these bold members behind me. Because quite frankly, as I'm traveling up and down the state and talking to small business owners every single day, they're telling me the following thing. They're frankly giving up, they're fed up, and they're wound up about what's going on. And they're frankly feeling that their representatives in Sacramento, many of them are giving up on them. And frankly giving in to special interests and putting that above Main Street, time and time again. Not these bold leaders behind me, but so many others that they just feel are given up on. And they're just give you an idea, small business owners, as we're talking about taxes, regulations, crime, small business owners pay 3 times more than larger businesses to comply with taxes, about 37% more to comply with regulatory costs, and they're always, most often, the usual target of these frivolous shakedown lawsuits. NFIB does a small business economic trends report every month that talks about, and it's really the leading national barometer of where small businesses are right now. And frankly, right now, as we found in our most recent one, the percentage of small business owners that are expecting sales to be higher in the coming months has declined by 12 points between December and January. And only 14% of small business owners are planning to create new jobs or even grow in the next 3 months. And it doesn't take much to read a newspaper or turn on the evening news to realize most small business owners are terrified about returning to the downtown area, as are their employees and their customers, because of retail crime and theft. So they feel progressive policymakers have failed them on virtually every level. As Leader Gallagher mentioned, they created a now $74 billion deficit, and they're looking to small business owners to be the ATM to pick up the tab. They're heaping new regulations and actually paving the way and opening the door for more frivolous lawsuits for small business owners than actually helping them. And they're choosing to embrace the criminal than the victim, which is not just the small business owner, but families and neighborhoods. Small business owners and these policymakers, frankly, behind me are saying enough is enough. Stop the lip service and let's get something done to help small business. Let's just look at a couple of these issues. After 2 previous sessions in which public safety committees have failed to pass about 25 to 30 bipartisan bills to address retail theft. The only one that I think even came close was Assemblymember Alanise's study bill. That didn't even make it out of committee, which would have at least studied the issue. All the while, Main Street and neighborhoods suffer. But hopefully, we're seeing some glimmers of hope. Senator Nilo, Assemblymember Alanise's bills that are going to be presented actually will address this head on in a responsible, reasonable way that all sides of every party should be able to see. Steps in the right direction. At a time when sleazy plaintiffs' attorneys continue to shake down small business owners with frivolous lawsuits, we're going to see Assemblymember Taw's AB 1894 that would provide a right to cure as it relates to the Air Resources Board and environmental regulations. And when our unemployment insurance fund continues to go deeper and deeper in the red, and all that our progressive policymakers can do is look at legislation that would actually make it a deeper sea of red, extending it to striking workers instead of solving the problem, we look at Leader Gallagher's ACA 19 as a step in the direction to finally pay down this bleeding red debt. And when the little guy, the small business owner that we are proud to represent, struggle for state contracts and other opportunities, we look at Assemblymember Davies, Senator Nilo, Assemblymember Dixon as opportunities for relief, paving the way, not blocking the way for small businesses to grow. We're nonpartisan. NFIB is a nonpartisan organization, and we do hold out hope, despite everything I just shared, with these bills and other things, that policymakers on all sides of all aisles are going to do something as they realize that we are at rock bottom. But I do hold out hope that we're going to crawl out of that hole. And finally, speaking out of crawling out of the hole, let's not look too far back, but to COVID, to realize that when small businesses dry up, so do all of our, not just jobs and the economy, but our social services, our public services that are so coveted and touted in this building behind me. Healthcare, education, first responders, even labor unions. But as you look at all of this stuff, all of that, when it's actually dried up, all of that suffers. But at the end of the day, small business owners are the engine when things are flush, that we see all of those public services, the schools, the hospitals, the roads, thriving. So when they're flush, so is California, so are our communities. These leaders get that as you see these bills introduced, which we're proud to support and we encourage others to support. They get that. We hope that all sides of the aisle will work together to make this work, that the governor will actually sign these wonderful bills and more to help small business. But that's the only way we're going to get fixed. But if small business is suffering, we just might as well pack it up. But I hold out hope. These bills have great hope, and we're grateful to those who have championed it. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, thank you, John. And NFIB are great advocates for small business, and for many years have been coming to this Capitol talking about the changes we need. I mistakenly called him the president and CEO. He's the state director, so I guess you call him the state CEO of NFIB. Well, next up, I do want to invite up another one of our members who's fighting on this front and who's introducing legislation to help small business, Assemblywoman Lori Davies. Lori Davies.
Good morning. I'm Assemblymember Lori Davies, and I have the honor of representing California's 74th District, which is South Orange County and North San Diego. In the Orange County Inland Empire region alone, there are over 230,000 small businesses. I'm proud to say I count myself as a part of that number, as I am a proud small business owner of 24 years. As a business owner, I can tell you that the state does not make it easy to do business here. Whether it's burdensome regulations or costly fees and permits, it seems like the state does everything it can to be the most unfriendly business state in the nation. We should be doing everything we can to attract and keep entrepreneurs here. This is why this session I've introduced AB 2030, a bill that will require state agencies reach out to women and minorities-owned businesses for procurement bids when awarding new state contracts. I am proud to have the California Hispanic Chamber supporting this bill. According to the United States Census, California's 150,000 women-owned firms employed over 1.3 million workers with $57.4 billion in annual payroll in 2018. If you want to talk about equity, we need to guarantee every business from every type of person has a seat at the table. I'm proud to stand here today with my colleagues in our effort to ensure we have a thriving small business climate that creates pathways to work, wages, and wealth for Californians. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Assemblymember. Next, we have a small business owner and a local elected official who's joined us today to talk about these issues and the importance of supporting small business. Sutter County Supervisor Carm Baines.
Thank you, Assemblyman Gallagher. In California, 99.8% of businesses are small businesses. That equates to 4.2 million businesses, including 1.2 million of them being self-employed minorities. Businesses run by our families, friends, and neighbors. These businesses provide 7.4 million jobs, which is nearly half of the jobs in California. The impacts of the pandemic are still lingering. From the state's response that devastated businesses and increased their debt. And job growth is projected to significantly slow for 2024. We cannot afford to sit idly by while our businesses and our communities continue to struggle, while crime worsens, while insurance rates climb, while regulations cripple the ability for businesses to flourish. As a fourth-generation farmer, remember that much of our food supply is provided by small business owners. Farmers in our rural areas are struggling to pay for equipment, fuel, and even payments. In dealing with the commodity prices that are now at the lowest they've ever been in decades, we need action, not talk, that supports our small business owners to help restore California to its vibrant former state. Thank you very much. I'm here to support Assemblyman Gallagher and his colleagues in support of small businesses and their future successes. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. And so next up, I want to invite up a senator who has been working on these issues for many years, as a business owner himself, and has fought through these issues, as a budget chair, both in both houses, and knows well the plight of the small business man and woman, Senator Roger Nilo. Okay, I'm gonna have to skip next here because Mr. Nilo is not here yet. We'll save him towards the end. So next, I'd like to bring up Assembly Member Juan Alanis.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming here today. We've all seen images and videos of the blatant shoplifting crimes in our communities and in our businesses. Broken glass, bloodied faces, and the shattered sense of security. It was reported last week that there was an 81% increase in shoplifting reports. And yet, in many ways, it feels like we are only starting to realize that this is a problem and that we are just now responding to it. As a career in law enforcement, as a deputy sheriff and as a sergeant, that was pretty much my everyday life on the beat. Seeing the pain of employees and their faces and their frustration, and the same of the business owners, as their jobs and livelihood were under constant assault. There's no doubt that our law enforcement agencies have worked tirelessly to adapt to increasing mandates that have been imposed on them, essentially tying their hands behind their backs. But this isn't just a policy issue. It's also a resource issue. That's why I've introduced AB 1845 and AB 1972 to provide law enforcement agencies and prosecutors more tools and resources to combat the rise in retail theft. AB 1845 supports new and existing programs for prosecutors who subscribe to the vertical prosecution model and collaborate with law enforcement agencies to investigate and prosecute those involved in stolen property crimes. These bills and the bills that my colleagues are sharing with you today are part of a larger effort to protect our communities and businesses once again. AB 1972 expands the California Organized Retail Statute to include the term cargo, giving law enforcement and prosecutors additional tools to protect our rail lines and shipping routes from organized cargo theft. And to be quite frank, our businesses for way too long, about 10 years, have been struggling to keep their customers safe, to keep their employees safe from theft. They're doing their best to keep prices affordable for everyone. And why is this? Well, laws are meant to keep us safe and to protect us. We all voted on a bill that should have kept our schools and our neighborhoods safer, but all it has done is cater to criminals. And now's the time. That's why we're here, to hopefully bring back hope to those businesses of people who wanted to thrive in their communities, who wanted to give back to their communities, be part of their communities. And unfortunately, these laws have failed them. So hopefully, we'll reach out to them. Hopefully, they will stay here. Hopefully, they will continue to be in their communities. And hopefully, they will stay here in California. So we're here to tell you that we stand with you and we stand for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And nobody knows this more than Assemblymember Alanis, who served, as a member of our law enforcement on those streets, trying to protect our community, trying to protect our businesses, and not having those tools. And so that's why it's so important that we make these changes, we make these reforms, give our law enforcement the real tools to provide accountability and to stop retail theft and organized cargo theft, as we heard about. These are the things that we need to put in place. So we're going to continue to be fighting on all of those fronts. Next up, I want to invite up Assemblywoman Diane Dixon to talk to us about some legislation that she's going to be introducing.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Diane Dixon, Orange County, District 72, Seal Beach, Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and then inland, a great part of our state with many, many, many thousands of small businesses. And I am so pleased to be part of the group here representing what we need to do to help small business. As the leader said earlier, small business is the backbone of our country's economy, but in California even more so. We have to keep small business in California. I talk to too many businesses who are moving to Arizona, moving to Nevada, but shipping into California. But they're moving to Arizona because the regulatory framework is more pro-business, and they are thriving. And they're taking their jobs and those jobs, the income produced in those jobs by the individuals as well as the businesses, taking it to drive up revenue in Arizona. And we are facing a revenue shortage here. That connection with the loss of income, with loss of workers in California is directly contributing to our high deficit. And that's why every day we're hearing the Legislative Analyst Office tell us that, oops, not enough revenue coming in. It's because these workers and their paychecks are going to another state. So I'll want to tell you about my bill, AB 2274. To help in an interesting way for families and small business. California has the highest statewide sales tax in the nation at 7.25%, as we all know. And then we also know that local governments can add up an additional 2%. So high taxes, plus now we're experiencing high inflation, make everyday family spending a real challenge. And then that also cuts back on family spending at their small businesses and their local businesses. Last week I introduced Assembly Bill 2274 to combat these high taxes for families, but also drive revenues to small business. And let me explain. This bill will create a back-to-school tax holiday the first weekend in August to allow school supplies and other retail goods, frankly, to be exempt from California state sales tax for that one weekend prior to the start of the school year. This is something that 18 other states I've already started that offer a sales tax holiday for school supplies and other retail shopping. So this is going to be really interesting to see how the legislature wants to support our small business and drive revenues for small business in a period of declining sales because of high inflation. Every little bit helps families and our businesses working together to create sales as well as reduce taxes for sales taxes. By exempting school supplies, we will not only be helping low-income families set their students up for success, but additionally amplifying their purchasing power. California families spend an average of $848.90 on school items in 2021, and that was $59 higher than the prior year. With the rising cost of living in California, it is important we provide relief so families can purchase the products they need from local stores and help local stores increase sales. Local stores are the backbones of our towns and cities, our communities. So please join me and my colleagues in helping to help families battle high costs and help small business grow sales in a heavy spending August weekend in California. I appreciate your interest in us supporting small business. This is another big priority item for all of us in the legislature, and the Republican and also bipartisan. We care about small business. We want them to be successful. We want to keep them in California. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Assemblywoman Dixon. And you know, she just brought up the latest news today out of the LAO. $73 billion deficit now here in California. You think that has something to do with what we've done to small business? Less revenue coming in because we've collapsed the small business economy, because of the policies that came out of this building, because of the policies of the Democratic supermajority. That is why this is happening to small business. They need relief. They need it now, and if you give them that relief, guess what? We'll see revenues climb. You think that would help with our budget deficit? That's something that we should be thinking about. That's why this is so important today. So last up, I'd like to invite up my good colleague hailing from Little Saigon in Orange County, Assemblyman Tree Ta.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here to show your support to the small businesses across the state. I am Assemblyman Tree Ta from District 70, Little Saigon, California. So I'm here to talk about my AB 1894, the Right to Care bill. As you are aware that under the current law, the California Air Resources Board exercise primary jurisdiction over air regulation. This authority allows the board the ability to fine California businesses thousands of dollars per day until the violation is fixed without any warning written in law. AB 1894 would give our struggling small businesses who have been struggling with this post-COVID world the ability to fix their air violation within a time frame of 30 to 60 days before receiving a fine in the statute. California economy is built on over 4 million small businesses and 7.5 million people that they employ. For California to recover from this budget deficit, we must protect our small businesses, many of which are owned by minority and immigrants. As you are aware, most small businesses do not have in-house legal and compliance officer, nor the fund to cover this fee. It is a small business owner that fulfill these duties. Therefore, AB 1894 is very legal to protect small businesses in California. So I'm proud to be here with the leader and member in our caucus to continue to stand for our business. You have our strong commitment. We're going to fight for you, and we're going to fight to the end. Thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you all for coming this morning on this important issue. And as we said, we need to do more to help our small businesses. Just look at where we are right now. We're here in Sacramento. You walk down K Street, which not that long ago was a very vibrant small business community. Many people were saying Sacramento's coming back, it's booming. And what has happened in that short time? We've seen devastation down those streets. But let's talk about another thing no one's talking about. Bring back the state workers. Why haven't we brought back all of our state workers down to the downtown to help support the small business economy here? That hasn't happened. You know, and so we need to be talking about all these different things to help ensure that we are supporting our small business economies in all of our cities and towns. And then finally, we have to end what is going to be what people don't talk about, but it is a small business tax. Is this unemployment insurance that we end up paying the bill on, that small business ends up paying the bill on. I'm introducing a constitutional amendment that will finally say, no, the state picks up that. Would they need to be the ones paying down that debt, not forcing small businesses who had nothing to do with that picking up that bill. It's time we did something to help small businesses, long since time, to help this vibrant community that is supporting our communities, that is bringing in revenues that are vital to all of our services. So I ask you, help support us in our efforts to help small business. Let's make the reforms that are really necessary to keep our community safe and keep our businesses thriving. Thank you. And we will take some questions if folks have any right now. Look, there's a great initiative that's circulating right now, a petition that's circulating, and I would encourage people to sign it, that actually does something about Prop 47, that actually provides penalties for, repeat theft, repeat thieves that are basically plaguing these businesses. I mean, you talk to any small business owner, go down the street and talk to a small business owner. I guarantee you they'll bring up retail theft. I guarantee you they will bring up, people that are coming in smashing and grabbing things, walking out, and there is no penalty because of Prop 47. And if the speaker won't say it, I will. Prop 47 needs to be reformed. It absolutely needs to be reformed. And it's not just me saying it. It's a majority of Californians who are saying it. The polling shows it. It's time that this legislature act. But if they don't act, that's fine. We've got an initiative that's moving forward, and I encourage people to sign on to that. Let's get it on the ballot, and the people can pass it themselves. Any other questions? Okay, and we'll have folks here available for if they want to do one-on-ones as well. But thank you for being here with us this morning.